From Washington, this is VOA News. Coming up, UN report warns mass atrocities in Syria threatening global peace to Ebola fears in the DRC. Hello, everyone. I'm Steve Norman. The United Nations warns that mass atrocities by government forces and rebels in the 3-year-long Syrian conflict and the influx of foreign fighters into the country threaten global peace and security. We get our report now from Lisa Schlein in Geneva.
The report speaks of the bleak existence of millions of civilians caught up in the fighting. It says all semblance of normal life in Syria is gone in a society where hundreds of civilians are dying each day as the fighting goes on with no regard to law or to conscience. The four-member Commission of Inquiry accuses the government of Bashar al-Assad of continuing to commit violations, including war crimes and crimes against humanity. In the first half of this year, it says the government fired missiles indiscriminately, killing hundreds of women and children. The Commission also says the group calling itself the Islamic State is a threat to security in the region and the world. Lisa Schlein for VOA News, Geneva.
World Health Organization says 80 people are now being monitored for Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where officials reported an outbreak of the disease this week. UN agency is awaiting lab results to confirm that the disease is definitely Ebola. WHO says the outbreak began with a pregnant woman who fell sick with Ebola-like symptoms after butchering an animal killed by her husband. United Nations Council unanimously adopted a resolution tightening the Libyan arms embargo and calling for an end to the violence in that country. This is VOA News. U.S. State Department says Russia sent more military assets into eastern Ukraine, indicating Russian-directed counteroffensive is likely underway near two key rebel-held border cities. Spokesperson Jen Psaki says the country's military hardware includes tanks and rocket launchers. Ukrainian and Western military officials are calling the incursion a stealth invasion. Meanwhile, NATO announced it was stepping up exercises in Eastern Europe. Alliance Chief Anders Fogh Rasmussen says he expects NATO members next week will approve sending temporary forces into the region. Poland is requesting the European Union Commission's, help in keeping Russia from blocking Polish shipments of goods through Russian territory. Polish Infrastructure and Transport Ministry says Russia is blocking some of its export shipments to Kazakhstan and Mongolia, as well as to other countries. Russia banned most fruit and vegetable imports from Poland last month and extended the ban this month to the rest of the European Union in retaliation for Western sanctions over its role in the Ukraine crisis. International Monetary Fund Chief Christine Lagarde says she has no intention of stepping down from her job despite coming under investigation in France in a long-standing corruption case. It involves resolution of a dispute involving business tycoon Bernard Tapie and sale of a majority stake in German software maker Adidas. Lisa Bryant is in Paris following the story.
IMF chief Christine Lagarde said she would contest the decision by French magistrates to put her under formal investigation. At issue is a tangled case of political fraud that dates back to her time as France's finance minister before her move to Washington.
Après 3 années d'instruction, des dizaines d'heures d'audition,
Lagarde said that after 3 years of questioning, magistrates had concluded she had committed no offense, but had not been sufficiently vigilant. She said she is asking her lawyer to take all measures against the decision. She said she is returning to her job at the IMF in Washington. Lisa Bryant for VOA News, Paris.
Both Afghan presidential candidates, Abdullah Abdullah and Ashraf Ghani, have stopped participating in the UN-supervised audit of June's disputed runoff election, further complicating Afghanistan's fragile political transition. Ghani removed his observers from the audit on Wednesday after his rival Abdullah dropped out on claims that auditors had not been willing to throw out allegedly fraudulent votes, calling the process a joke. Auditors were in their final stages of examining the 8 million votes cast during the runoff.
That's the latest world news from VOA.